When Michael and Dana Wheeler moved into the cold, cream-colored Mediterranean-style mansion in the Hollywood Hills, they were well aware of its tragic past. The house once belonged to actress Brittany Murphy, whose sudden and mysterious death in 2009 made headlines across the world. 5 months later, her husband, Simon Monjack, died in the same home, under eerily similar circumstances. But to the Wheelers it was a bargain, at least by Los Angeles standards. The property had lingered on the market for years, eventually selling at a steep discount. Michael, a television editor, and Dana, a part-time art curator, saw it not as a cursed relic, but as a fixer-upper with Hollywood charm. They moved in mid-July 2023 with their Labrador retriever, Milo. The house had been empty for over a decade, save for the occasional real estate showing and maintenance crews. It felt like a time capsule, stuck somewhere between early 2000s opulence and quiet neglect. The curved staircase still creaked, and the kitchen tiles bore faint stains that no one had managed to scrub clean. It just needs love, Dana kept telling herself. Things started subtly, a few lights flickering here and there, the thermostat randomly dropping to 60 degrees Fahrenheit in the middle of summer. Dana would wake up at 3:30 a.m. nearly every night, always with the same sense that someone was standing at the foot of the bed. One night, she got up and went to the hallway bathroom. As she passed the mirror, she saw a reflection, not her own, just a flicker, a shadow of someone behind her. She turned fast. No one was there. Michael, ever the skeptic, blamed it on stress and lingering trauma. Dana had suffered a miscarriage 2 years earlier and had recently gone off anxiety meds. But even he began to notice things. Milo refused to enter the bathroom where Monjack had reportedly collapsed. He would bark at the door and then back away, tail between his legs. The HVAC technician who came to fix the air conditioning refused to return for a follow-up. "Something's off about that crawl space," he said. "I don't know how else to put it. Felt wrong." The house had a small room behind the master closet that had been turned into a makeshift recording booth, probably for Monjack, who fancied himself a screenwriter and producer. Dana found the door on accident. It stuck when she tried to open it like it hadn't been moved in years. Inside was dust, stacked boxes, and a digital recorder. She turned it on out of curiosity. The audio was garbled at first, then clear. A woman's voice whispering over and over, "They won't let me sleep." Then nothing, just heavy breathing. Dana brought the recorder to Michael. He wiped it and tried to play it again. Nothing was on it. Not a second of sound. That night, Dana had her first full-blown episode. She woke up gasping, clutching her chest, convinced she was drowning. "She's in the vents," she sobbed. "She keeps whispering through the vents." Michael checked everyone. Nothing. But the next night, the whispering started again. This time, he heard it too. Dana became obsessed with Brittany Murphy in the following weeks. She read everything: autopsy reports, conspiracy theories, even interviews with Brittany's estranged father, who claimed the actress had been poisoned. Dana started sleeping in the guest room, claiming Brittany liked it better there. Michael caught her whispering to someone during the night. When he confronted her, she said she was trying to help her cross over. He found Dana standing barefoot on the balcony Brittany allegedly stumbled out onto in her final days. The air was cold, and Dana was swaying. She smiled without blinking and whispered, "She wants me to stay." They left the house the next morning. Dana moved in with her sister in Silver Lake. Michael stayed behind for 1 more week, just long enough to oversee the movers and finalize the paperwork to list the house again. But on his last night, he heard music, soft, melodic humming from the master bathroom. The tub was full. The water was ice cold. He never told Dana. The house remains on the market, empty once again. A young couple made an offer in January 2024, but backed out days later, citing emotional discomfort during the walkthrough. Some say the house is cursed. Others call it grief echoing off the walls. Locals don't talk about it much anymore. But late at night, rideshare drivers say their GPS glitches when they drive up Rising Glen Road, where the house stands in silence. A few claim to see a pale figure in the upstairs window, watching, waiting. Whatever happened in that house didn't end with Brittany Murphy. It just waited, and waits still, The house, with all its elegant curves and Mediterranean pretensions, had a hollowness that no amount of staged warmth could fill. It didn't echo exactly, but it absorbed sound in a strange, muffled way, like the walls were heavy with something unspoken. Dana noticed it first while unpacking in the living room. She had music playing softly, Billie Holiday, something she always put on when trying to make a space feel more like home, but the sound felt dampened, like it never quite reached the corners of the room. Even Milo seemed confused. He would pace slowly along the baseboards, tail twitching, nose twitching, as if tracking a scent only he could detect. The first night, they tried to sleep with the windows open. The bedroom overlooked the canyon, a sweeping view that turned a golden pink at dusk, like every realtor's dream. But by midnight, the air grew too cold, inexplicably so. The breeze coming through the window wasn't just chilly, it had a smell to it. Not rotting or foul, not floral either. More like wet drywall, or the sharp mineral scent of water that hasn't moved in a very long time. Dana closed the window and locked it. The following day, while Michael was at work, Dana decided to start cleaning the master bath. She filled a small bucket with warm water, added lemon cleaner, and knelt by the clawfoot tub, the same tub where emergency responders found Brittany Murphy's lifeless body slumped over the side. Dana had read the report the night before. Officially, pneumonia, anemia, and a toxic cocktail of over-the-counter medications. But even the coroner's report had felt uncertain. Too neat, too fast. As Dana scrubbed around the drain, she noticed something unusual. The water wouldn't stay hot. She just poured it minutes ago, and it had already gone tepid, then ice cold. When she dipped her hand in to check, a sharp pain shot up her wrist like she'd brushed a jagged edge of metal. She jerked her hand out. No cut, no blood, but she was trembling, and she didn't know why. That night, Dana awoke with the unmistakable sense that someone was standing at the end of the bed. She didn't sit up, didn't even breathe too loudly. Just opened her eyes and stared into the blackness where the figure should be. She told herself it was just a shadow from the hallway. But the hallway light was off. She reached for Michael. He was snoring softly beside her, dead to the world. Then came the whisper. Just one word. Cold. So quiet it might have been her own breath forming syllables in the dark. Or something else entirely. The next morning, Dana walked through the house with a mug of coffee, unwilling to admit that she was afraid to be alone. The house was too quiet in the mornings. Every footstep on the hardwood sounded like it belonged to someone else. Every door that shifted slightly in its frame seemed to breathe. She opened the windows wide, hoping sunlight would burn off whatever had settled into the air overnight. She turned on music, vacuumed, washed the same clean dishes twice. At noon, Milo stood in front of the hallway bathroom and began to growl. His growl wasn't angry, more confused. A low, uncertain rumble, as if warning something unseen not to come closer. Dana called his name once, twice. He didn't budge, just stared at the door. Then, without warning, he yelped and bolted down the hallway, toenails scratching against the polished wood. That bathroom. It was where Simon Monjack was found slumped, barely breathing, just 5 months after Brittany's death. It had the same tiling, same dim sconce lighting, same dull fixtures from the early 2000s that no one had bothered to update. Dana had avoided it until now. She stepped forward and placed her hand on the doorknob. It was cold. Not room temperature cold, but metallic, wet refrigerator cold. A sudden image flashed in her mind, too fast and too specific to be a dream or memory. The image of someone lying on the bathroom floor, curled on their side. A hand reaching toward the door. Fingernails broken. The sound of water dripping somewhere nearby. Dana snatched her hand back and nearly dropped her coffee. She didn't open that door for another 3 days. It was a Tuesday when Dana found the hidden door. The day had started warm, almost cheerful. She'd spent the morning out on the back patio pruning the stubborn succulents the last owners had planted. Half of them had turned dry and brittle, like no amount of watering could coax life back into them. She wore an old denim jacket and Michael's oversized sunglasses, and for a while it felt like she was playing house. Pretending this mansion on Rising Glen was just another home. Not a mausoleum. Michael was working late again. Post-production deadlines. She didn't mind. In fact, she often preferred the solitude now. It felt easier to move around the house when it was just her, easier to listen for things. She didn't say that part out loud. In the bedroom, she was organizing the master closet. It was cavernous, almost absurdly large rows and rows of empty shelving, racks for shoes, drawers with velvet lining that smelled faintly of forgotten perfume. She imagined Brittany standing here once, barefoot, robe hanging open, deciding between dresses for a red carpet. Dana had seen the photos. In some of them, Brittany looked like a child playing dress-up. In others, she looked hollow. At the far back of the closet, hidden behind a rack that had long since come off its hinges, Dana noticed a seam in the wall. Not a line of paint or damage, something intentional. A door. She ran her fingers along the edge. There was no knob, but the panel gave way with a little push, creaking outward on old brass hinges. Behind it was a small room, barely the size of a walk-in pantry. No windows, no carpet, just unfinished concrete floor and soundproof foam on the walls, most of it peeling. A recording booth. Makeshift. Claustrophobic. There was a folding chair, a cheap desk with a broken leg propped up on books, and a dusty digital audio recorder sitting on top. The room smelled strange. Not dirty exactly, more like something organic that had once lived and then stopped. The kind of stillness you only find in sealed spaces. No air movement. No mold. Just silence. Dana stood in the doorway for several minutes, unsure why her heart was racing. She was alone. The afternoon sun still poured through the closet windows behind her. The house was quiet, and yet something in her stomach coiled tight. Eventually, she stepped inside. The recorder was a basic handheld model, the kind voice actors used for home editions or journaling. It had dust in the speaker grill and a deep scratch down the side, but the battery indicator blinked green when she pressed play. Static first, then a voice. A woman's voice. Low, hoarse, as if spoken between coughs. "They won't let me sleep." Dana stood motionless, breath shallow. "They keep coming. I close my eyes and I feel them. I feel." The recording cut off. A skip. Then, "I'm cold." Another skip. Then what sounded like weeping. Not loud. Small. Tired. As if whoever had spoken no longer cared who heard them. Dana's mouth had gone dry. She turned off the recorder, clutching it in her palm. She didn't tell Michael. That night, Dana lay awake in bed long after Michael had fallen asleep. The recorder sat in the top drawer of her nightstand, but she could feel its presence like it was under her pillow. At 3:11 a.m., she sat up abruptly. Not because she heard anything, because she didn't. No house is ever truly silent. There are always noises, fridges hum, walls shift, floorboards settle. But the silence in that moment was absolute, vacuum-like. And then the faintest of sounds. Breathing. Not hers. Not Michael's. It was coming from the closet. Not heavy breathing. Not threatening. Just soft and rhythmic, like someone half asleep. Breathing slow. Close. She stared into the dark slit of the closet doorway, her eyes trying to adjust, trying to catch a shape, any motion at all. Then the faintest creak. Like pressure on wood. Like a weight shifting on the other side of that hidden door. Dana didn't move. Didn't speak. Just sat there, spine straight, heart thudding against her ribs until the sound stopped. And still she didn't move. By morning, the air in the bedroom felt heavier. Like something had saturated the atmosphere. Dana's lungs burned a little when she took her first breath. She reached for Michael but found the bed next to her cold. He had left early for work. When she got up and walked past the nightstand, she opened the drawer to check the recorder again. It was gone. She hadn't moved it. She hadn't even opened the drawer since placing it there. The contents had been neatly rearranged: lip balm, tissues, a paperback, her reading glasses, but no recorder. Dana called Michael. He hadn't touched it. She checked the closet. The hidden room. Empty. No desk. No chair. No recorder. Just 4 walls and a dusty floor. The door closed behind her. Not slammed. Just clicked shut. Dana didn't leave the house for 6 days. Michael noticed, of course. At first, he blamed the heat, then the stress, then quietly the marriage. He tiptoed around the subject as he packed for his early calls, made excuses when she wouldn't meet friends for dinner. He'd hear her moving at strange hours, scraping furniture across the hardwood upstairs, humming to herself under her breath. Once, at 2 a.m., he found her crouched at the base of the stairs, barefoot, running her fingers along the wall. "It's in here," she whispered, not turning. "Behind everything." When he pressed her, she shook her head and went back to bed. No explanation, no fight, just absence behind the eyes. On the 7th day, Dana began sleeping in the closet. She moved blankets in there, pillow, one of Michael's old sweatshirts. She left the door cracked just enough to let in a sliver of light, but she never turned it on herself. She said it hurt her eyes now. The sun, the lamps. She said the house felt better in the dark. And still, the recorder never turned up. But sounds continued. She heard a woman laughing softly in the hallway near the bathroom. Water running at odd hours, despite no taps being open. Footsteps moving just behind hers. Breathing, always breathing close. Rhythmic, unafraid. On the 9th night, she woke up with blood on her pillow. Just a smear, not from her mouth or nose. She searched herself and found nothing. But when she turned on the hallway light finally, flicking it on in desperation, she found a single footprint outside the closet. Bare, small, like it belonged to a woman standing silently just beyond the door. She wiped it away before Michael could see. By now, Milo wouldn't go upstairs. He slept by the front door, ears perked and eyes glassy, always staring toward the hallway. If she picked him up and tried to carry him, he'd squirm and claw, terrified. She stopped trying after he bit her arm. It was Michael who finally found the second room. He wasn't looking for it. He was looking for Dana. She hadn't responded to texts in 2 days. Her phone was dead. He'd found uneaten food on the patio, a wine glass shattered in the sink. The whole house smelled like sour citrus and old dust. And cold, God, the cold. Like the walls themselves were radiating from within. He found her in the bedroom closet, lying in a nest of blankets, arms crossed over her chest like a corpse. She was awake, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. "It's under the house," she said. "What is?" She blinked slowly. "The thing that lives in her." Michael crouched, trying to touch her, but she shrank away. "It doesn't like you here," she added, almost apologetically. "She's stronger when you're gone." Michael called a doctor that night, booked a hotel, told himself the house was just too much, too weird, too steeped in someone else's tragedy. They would sell it, move on. But before they left, before he could pack a single box, he went down to the basement. The listing hadn't mentioned one, and it wasn't a full basement, not even a finished crawl space. Just a tight square trapdoor hidden under the laundry machines, covered in old drywall and insulation. He pulled it up. A ladder led down into darkness. Flashlight in hand, he descended. The space below was shallow, damp, dirt walls reinforced with wood beams. It reeked of rot and mildew and something older, more human, like a wound that had never healed. And at the far end, partially hidden behind a broken partition, was a mirror. A full-length antique vanity, cracked down the center. A single strand of hair caught in the wood grain. Lipstick smeared across the glass. He stepped closer. The flashlight flickered, and in the reflection just for a moment he saw her. Not Dana. A woman. Thin. Sunken cheeks. Black circles under her eyes. She stood behind him, just inches away, her mouth moving silently. He turned. No one. When he looked back at the mirror, she was gone. But the word was still written in the fog on the glass. Cold. They left the house 2 days later. Dana didn't speak during the drive. Michael kept one hand on the wheel, the other clenched tightly around her phone, praying for signal. Dana sat curled up in the passenger seat, arms wrapped around herself, whispering to something only she could see. They didn't return. The house went back on the market. It sold 6 months later to a young couple from Oregon, newly married, full of optimism. The listing had no mention of its history. No one disclosed the cold spots, the late-night footsteps, the mirror, but the neighbors noticed. Within weeks, the lights started flickering again after midnight. The backyard plants began to wither, no matter how much they were watered. And Milo ran away. He was never found. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story.